Welcome to Undercomplicated, where we, two psychologists with over 40 years of combined experience, share our insights to help undercomplicate important topics. Friendly reminder as we get started that this video is meant to be conversational and for entertainment purposes only. So please see the information section of this video for additional resources.
I'm Stacey Gedeon. I'm a health psychologist and also a professional coach and healthcare consultant, and also enjoy speaking and writing.
Psychologist, coach, author, and a speaker. And I'm just going to highlight that I co-authored a book called You Will Get Through This. It's a mental health toolkit to help demystify common mental health concerns. So, without further ado, getting into our question for today, how do you decide who gets to take up space in your mind? I find that as I'm working with clients, whether in coaching, therapy, they will tend to talk about how they've got negative thoughts of their own, but also how they hear some of their thoughts through the lens of a critical person in their life, like a parent or a previous professor, somebody who was supposed to be in a role of supportive and mentoring and, giving like maybe some constructive feedback, but in a kind, gentle, learning type of way. But that is not what this voice sounds like in their minds. This voice tends to sound like a critical, negative, like an insidious sort of bringer down of their what they're trying to build up for themselves. And one of the analogies I often talk to people about is it seems like they might be unintentionally building a residence for these people to take up space in their mind. This person, maybe an old boss, has a mansion built in the mental map of your mind where they're in residence and they come out every now and then and they say some really crappy things to you and then they go back and lounge in their mansion pool and they just wait to come out and make you feel like crap again. I'm really curious, Stacey, like, is this just me and my clients? Do you hear similar types of things about like, the people who are taking up residence in your clients' minds, whether they want them there or not?
Very, very common. And I love the picture. I am picturing now a big mansion with some boss that is saying negative things. And I think not only do our clients experience it, I think, I experience it at times. And isn't it interesting that it's never a positive voice? So
Mm.
it's never that voice that was, super supportive and told you how well you did. And we could probably talk about, why that is the case based on survival and things like that. But yes, very common. And it's really interesting when people feel like they have no control over that. And so I'm curious
Mm.
as to how, when you're working with someone who says, I think I can do this thing, but there's this voice telling me, no, you can't, you're going to fail. How do you approach that with people? What are some things that you do to help them?
Yeah, it's a really great point. I want to highlight something you touched on too about there might be part of this that's adaptive. Like it might be connected to our survival, right? We might hold on to criticisms and things that we think bring up a threat because then it helps us prepare for those threats or know what to do if they're coming or to just be aware, to be scanning the environment. Yeah, I mean, so to your question of like what would we coach people to do if they realize, oh my gosh, Julie, yeah, my, sixth grade teacher has taken up residence in my head and they are just wreaking havoc whenever I think I can do something and they come out and go, are you sure? You think you can do that? I don't know that you can do that. Like, what do you do with that sixth grade teacher? One, can you evict them is a question. Like how can you go about evicting them? And so there's a lot of different things we could talk about here. I'm going to highlight two ideas and that I'm curious of your thoughts on these.
Sure.
One is, can you turn down the volume on that person's voice? So we want to evict them altogether. As you're trying to do that, can you turn down the volume? Can you say, you know what? I hear it, but this is not productive. This is not helpful. This is not a fact. This is me holding on to something that may have served me at some point, but it is not helpful anymore. It just leaves me feeling crappy. So
Mhm.
can you turn down the volume, and they might be still like flailing their arms trying to get you to feel bad, and you're like, I can mute you. Like you don't need
Right.
to be like taking up my mental space. And then like, can you ultimately increase the volume on your voice?
Mhm.
Can you turn up the volume on your own opinions about your worth and your abilities and your value? I'm curious, Stacey, like what are your thoughts about how people might navigate this?
I think in addition to what you said, as you're working through this, and maybe the thing that you are able to accomplish is dialing down the volume. One thing I encourage people to ask is, okay, this voice, first identify who might it be?
Mm,
Is it a parent? Is it a boss? Is it, a loved one? Who might that voice be? Um, or if it's something or an amalgam of different voices, we might create
mm,
what it looks like and sounds like and feels like and the texture and the color and all of that. Um, and then if they can identify that it's a person, really asking, is this someone that you respect? Is this someone
mm,
that you would take advice from in other areas? Are they credible? Who knows you better? This person that doesn't sound too pleasant, and has their own agenda going on most times? Or do you want to learn to trust yourself and really identifying and highlighting what you want for your life and pushing out these other people? Um, yeah, so that's, I think, to add on to what you said, some things that can be really, really helpful.
yeah, I love that. Who's to say that this person who's you've got taking up residence in your mind, who's to say they're credible?
Right.
Like, what does that person who genuinely is no longer that person? Say it's your
Right.
mom, say it's your dad. That's not your mom or your dad. That's your idea of your mom and your dad. And you might have a good idea. We are not saying you don't.
Right.
But that is what you have taken from that person and, you know, are holding on to in a way that somehow feels like it's productive and it might not be. This person, this inner person that you've made up and a representation of them probably is not very credible. And so, how do you decide how to trust yourself? How to give yourself credibility in that you know yourself better than anybody else. You know what you're capable of, you know what you are brave enough to try. You also, hopefully, and if you don't hear this other places, please hear it from us, know that you are valid just by being. You
Right.
don't have to earn it. You don't have to earn credibility for being valid. Like you, because you exist, are a valid human being who doesn't deserve to have some voice in their mind that's like taking down their credibility and their trust and their like faith in themselves.
Right. Right.
And and so I'm curious, like Stacey, what, for people who are like, I don't I don't know how to trust myself. Like I lean on these like, the sixth grade teacher and my mom and my boss. I lean on these people in my mind and you may not actually be hearing their voices. We might not be talking about like schizophrenia, which is a diagnosis where people are hearing voices that may not be there, but like this internal monologue, this your own voice, but it might sound like somebody else's as you're hearing your thoughts.
Mhm.
Like what would you encourage them or how would you talk to them through this? Like, I don't trust my own opinions. Like, I don't trust myself.
Those are really great points. And one thing that I've found can be helpful for people is write it down. Is this thought true about me that I'm having? Is it helpful? Is it helping me go towards what I want to accomplish in life or away from what do I accomplish?
Mm,
What purpose is it serving for me? You've probably run into people where they swear I am just going to say maybe a very driven parental figure that tells them they must always try and never give up and always
hmm
work. And they come to believe that that gives them an edge over everybody else in terms of being productive and successful. But at the same time, it's too much.
mm,
And helping them to take out the pieces that they want that are helpful and serving them, and then learning to let the other things go because they're just not needed nor are they helpful anymore.
The person that we work with that is the achiever, is the person who like I know that I'm worthwhile because I earn like all
Mm,
these things. I've
yeah.
achieved so much in my career. I've gotten these accolades. I got these awards in sports, or like it's the internalizing of the person driving them as they were growing up, like that might help them be productive in a way. But what happens when you hit all those milestones? You're like, all right, I'm going for the
Right.
promotion. Say you get that promotion and you're like, oh, now I just have to be and
Mm,
be okay with myself. Like, how do you deal, right? Like with that, like these are the questions that often can be helpful in working with people in like therapy or coaching. Like,
mm,
how do you deal with just accepting yourself and letting yourself be? That like this idea that rest is productive, taking
mhm.
care of yourself, doing self-care and relaxing, that is productive. And you don't have to earn it. You just are worthy of caring for yourself.
I think one big thing is awareness. So being aware that there is a voice,
Mm,
and that it probably isn't yours if it's
mm,
really negative. And so noticing, and then also being intentional, as you've mentioned before, about whether you're going to allow that voice in and how loud you're going to let that voice be. And really, it
mm.
is a decision. It is something that you can choose to work on with support and sort of evict those voices that aren't helpful, and then make room and make space for your own voice and learning to trust that. So that's one of the main takeaways that I hope people get from today. Do you have others you would add?
Two thoughts come to mind. One is follow me, y'all. So there is a show, or was a show called Mad Men, and I honestly did not watch the show, but I heard it was good. And there is a scene though that I think speaks to what we're talking about so well, and it's two of the characters, and one of them says, "Oh, I feel bad for you," and the other character responds, "I don't think about you at all." And that's what we're talking about here is you can decide who you let take up your mental space, who you think about, who gets to live in your head. Whereas I think it was Don Draper's character, the main character, he was like, I'm not thinking about you.
Yeah.
And there might have been a lot of unhealthy stuff. Again, didn't watch the show, but that the essence of that is
Yeah.
you get to decide who you let make you feel any type of way. Trust yourself to be able to decide what feels healthy for you, what feels okay for you, and knowing that the voices that you've like held on to that may have gotten you really far in life, in your career, if they are no longer serving you, and when they come out and they leave their little mansion pool and they walk out there, to the front yard that you've made for them, and they just are yelling awful things at you, how can you talk like back to that voice? How
Right.
can you quiet that voice? How can you talk back to that voice? How can you maybe put a bunch of cheerleaders or gurus or other types of voices to counter that? And those coming from yourself as well. So use the imagery in ways that connect for you. As Stacey was saying, like write things out. Like don't let the voices just make you feel
Mm,
crappy.
right.
Challenge them in whatever way feels helpful. And if you're like, this has really made me start to think about who is taking up space in my head, and I need help exploring that. This is great kinds of stuff that like a therapist, a
Mm.
coach, these are the kinds of things that they can help you explore and make a safe space around. So don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Just to add to that analogy, what came up for me is, you're leaving the mansion, you're locking the door, and you are going to get assistance. And
Mm.
that person is going to be able to help you to kind of manage that negative voice that's going on. So yes, that is you taking care of yourself and speaking up and getting the support that you need to be able to manage those inner voices that aren't helpful.
So, as we wrap up today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on YouTube, LinkedIn, to send us a message with suggestions for questions that you'd like us to discuss in future episodes.